right, we're on the air.
I call the, I gotta look at the date, May 23rd meeting of the Long Hill Planning Board to order at 7:34. Can we have the announcements, please?
Yes. Number one, call to order and statement of compliance. Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by posting a copy of the public meeting dates on the municipal bulletin board and website, by sending a copy to the Echo Sentinel newspaper, and by filing a copy with the municipal clerk. Number two, meeting cutoff. Announcement is made that, as a matter of procedure, it is the intention of the planning board not to continue any matter past 10:30 p.m. at any regular or special meeting, hearing of the board, unless a motion is passed by the members then present to extend the meeting or hearing to a later specified cutoff time. Number three, electronic devices. All in attendance are asked to mute cell phones or any electronic devices as to not interrupt the proceedings. Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call. Mayor Lavender.
Present.
Committeeman Ray is excused this evening. Ms. Dill.
Present.
Mr. Hands.
Here.
Mr. Jones.
Here.
Mr. Malinowski.
Here.
Mr. File is excused this evening. Vice Chairman Richardson.
Here.
Chairman Sandow.
Here.
Chairman, we have a quorum.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay. The first item on the agenda is to approve the minutes of our March 28th meeting. You all have a copy. Does anyone have anything to ask questions about, or change, or discuss?
Yeah, Dennis, the only thing I might suggest is under the prism, Bob Foreign Artist spoke for a couple of minutes about some of the plans that Prism had. I wonder if that may be worth a couple of sentences or not. Does anybody have any opinion about it? If nobody thinks it's a good idea, then I'll drop it.
No, I think it's a good idea, because he did make some statements in there with regard to the delivery or the next steps of future meetings, so it's worth documenting. He didn't say a lot, but he said enough that's worthy of.
I'd be happy to add that.
Thank you, dear.
Thank you.
Do you want to make any change?
Just want to include some of the
To include
statements.
it. I'd leave it to Deb to listen to the.
I'll do another
recording.
draft.
got
and
it?
Yep, I'll do another draft
I
and
can listen
and
to it and send
resend
you
it
the
to the
draft.
board.
Deborah, I can do it.
Okay,
I'll
can
do
I
a list
have
and
a
send you draft.
motion to?
Oh, that'd be great.
Sure.
And then very quickly, you got seconded by with this blank
I'm sorry?
on the last, on the page one, the third, under prison, it says seconded by comma.
Oh, I didn't have the second. Okay.
Made by and seconded by a comma. So I don't know who comma is.
Copying and pasting at its best again.
There you go.
So I'll revise it and send the board to approve next meeting.
Do you want to just put this on hold till the next meeting? Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate it, thanks. Good catch.
Board schedule. Anything, anything going on?
I know that there's a subdivision coming your way. I don't know where it is. I just heard from the attorney today. Didn't indicate to me that where it is, but there's a subdivision coming your way. We received a sign application for the bank that's at the end of the ShopRite shopping center, and I have to have a conversation with Liz and Matt and Steve, because ShopRite always went to the zoning board, so I'm not sure if this goes to the zoning board or the planning board.
The last issue there went to the zoning board.
Right,
That was the extension of the parking lot.
right. And this bank location is asking for an additional sign that's not allowed by our ordinance. So, but they submitted to the planning board, but I'm leaning towards, I think it goes to the zoning board.
Normally signs are zoning board because they're just considered a bulk variance, but in the event your ordinance classifies it as minor site plan, it would come back to the planning board, so we just have to investigate
Except
Right.
we've always had the theory, well, not always, that whichever board had jurisdiction last keeps jurisdiction.
Right, and ShopRite had jurisdiction in that, well, the zoning board with ShopRite had jurisdiction last, so we have to discuss it. Yeah.
I mean, I know the zoning board is busy these days.
So that's what I had pending, other than whatever
We
you all
have
have for
heard
me.
nothing from American Water
About,
about expanding the plant.
as far as I know, that any of the approvals that we've given them thus far is what they're acting on, so,
The only approval we gave them was to build a garage, not to expand the capacity of the plant.
well, that's all, they haven't come back to us for anything other than that at this point.
Okay. And do we have any schedule at all for the affordable housing at the car wash? Or, I'm sorry, the assisted living at the car wash?
The application has not arrived yet. And I've heard it's gonna be any day, but I heard that 3 weeks ago.
Do you want to talk now about mandatory stormwater training?
Yes,
One of
so,
my favorite subjects.
so, this week, in some review of the the NJDEP doing revisions and lots of things, to which I apologize to the board, I don't speak engineering, so I'll kind of give you my version, the lay version. It had come to our attention that back in 2018, the NJDEP had put out this 45-minute video training about stormwater management, to which most of the board members who were here at the time looked at. But now, any new board member has to take it, and if you didn't take it, you have to take it and say that you took it. And then if you are given a new term, which, like David, I think you took it back in 2018, and you've since been given a new term with the board. So every new term now, you have to certify again that you've watched it again.
Oh.
So, and this has kind of been coming up fast, and the township engineer and our administrator have said, let's get the board to do this immediately, because it's gonna be part of mandatory training now for new members, et cetera. So that's where we are with that. That's why,
So new members and reappointments?
correct.
Mm.
Correct. And apparently it's a very easy watch. Dawn, you mentioned when you did it in 2018, which you have to do it again because you got reappointed. You mentioned that it was very informational and a good watch. So it's a quick 45-minute video apparently, and then you just shoot me an email to say you watched it.
I can't remember, are there questions, or just certify that you've watched it?
Just say that you
Yeah.
watched it.
Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's fine,
Mhm.
that's fine.
If you have any questions after you watch the video, refer them to Deborah.
Yes.
Mhm.
And our board engineer, Joe, is helping me on another project for the township. He's helping us determine from the major projects within the last 3 to 5 years, what qualified under major stormwater and minor stormwater. Again, to which I don't speak engineer, so I said, hey, Joe, here's the info, you look at it. So he's currently doing that. So he will definitely be, and we confirmed recently, because the township engineer asked us to do so, that the board should have you may know that it's a certified stormwater reviewer,
Yeah.
which he is, Joe, and he has some other titles under the NJDEP with Van Cleef, his firm, that are fabulous for us as the board to have, as a reference.
The key one is the floodplain manager designation.
I think he has that one too.
Yeah.
Was there a number
Just-
like an M something
Yeah.
5 or 7 or whatever?
Yes,
Some fancy number with that.
right.
It's all because it's getting more and more of an issue, obviously.
Yeah, I
Stormwater's
mean,
becoming
it
more of
clearly
a
was
real
one of,
thing.
I think, the differentiators of really seeking out someone like Joe with his background to support us because of our floodplain flooding issues, so.
And
It's a good thing.
it seems to me that the NJDEP and, I mean, perhaps even going up to the EPA are looking much closer at municipalities in the last couple years, at basically our stormwater practices, our ordinances, from my understanding, because of all of the water issues we've had with hurricanes and whatnot. So they're really taking a closer look at practices and everything under the umbrella that any of the board members or the governing body are involved with, so.
Just need a really big umbrella. Put it over the town.
Yeah, exactly. Huge umbrella.
Is this also looking at like the new developments that are going on with fair share and high density?
It doesn't really get into, they don't get into a density issue. They're just
But
basically
the
looking.
impact of,
Right, so what they
their
look at,
projects.
they're looking at a project that we've approved, like Prism.
right,
So that's classified under the NJDEP as a major stormwater development.
because it could possibly impact,
Correct.
right? So they're looking at those developments and their impact on the,
Correct.
Areas,
So
okay.
what they're looking at is they're looking at the reporting done by the applicant, the reporting done by us, who we have on staff with certifications to make sure that everything is being followed to the letter of the NJDEP. So, they're really breaking everything down now, to my understanding, as the township engineer explained it to me, so.
And this is all part of a consortium of rules and regulations that are still being developed associated with what's called PACT, P-A-C-T, Protecting Against Climate Threats. And so this is all being initiated really from Ida, that infamous storm that dumped 15 inches on us in an hour, or some crazy intensity. And they're still responding to that kind of issue, saying we've got to get ahead of this. And so we're going to see more regulations coming down from this whole PACT approach.
Yeah, at least it's getting serious attention, so.
It's getting a lot of
Can't-
serious attention,
Can't be
so
a bad thing.
I'm sorry to give you all a 2-week deadline to watch it, but if you could do it as quickly as possible, it makes us look that much better.
Yeah.
Shining stars.
While we're at it, I would like to report on the training session that I went to a couple weeks ago. As you all know, board members have to go to a training session to learn land use within the first year after they sit on the board. This really doesn't affect anybody who's sitting here now because you've all been in the past. But I went to one a few weeks ago just as a refresher to see what was new. And an awful lot of time was spent talking about cannabis. Now, I have a feeling that cannabis is not really a land use issue unless you're involved in the farming end of the business. But the intermediate stages, and there's 6 layers between farming and distribution. There's processing, manufacturing, bottling, lab testing, and if you want to participate at any of those levels in the non-medical cannabis business, you got to get licensed. For some reason, this is a land use issue, although quite frankly, I don't see the connection unless you're talking about farming. If you got a retail storefront and you got to get a license to sell, that's like having a retail storefront and getting a license to sell liquor. And there are all kinds of regulations, but I'm hard-pressed to see how it affects the board's business of land use and meeting the ordinance on setbacks and all the rest. But nonetheless, it was a major part of the presentation that we should all know about. And I'm going to spare you the details because I don't think, and besides that, the town has adopted a resolution a couple years ago to take advantage of a 5-year moratorium on any cannabis business in town. Although some towns have not taken advantage of the moratorium, and have actually started businesses and are making a lot of money. Because there's a tax, I think it's about 2% that goes to the town if you're in the business. There's taxation issues, there's licensing issues, there's hours of use and how close you can be to a school and all those other kinds of things. And I'm not sure, other than building a storefront, that we're involved. But at any rate, took a lot of time at the seminar. And if you have any questions about cannabis, I can refer you to somebody who knows more about it than I do.
I think, just to add, it's a force to be reckoned with, and I think it would be helpful if the board were at least more educated. I think that's always the best way to be able to approach a subject like this, because it is such a hot issue, clearly, by how much time they spent with your land use training. And maybe we could consider inviting somebody in to speak to the implications of this.
It's not a bad idea.
No,
actually.
I mean,
Especially
what better way to be informed is to be educated in regards to the particular issue, instead of digging a hole and saying, I don't want to deal with that, and putting their head in the ground.
especially because of the more, as you said, the 5-year moratorium or whatever. So
Right.
at some point, be good
Yeah.
to be prepared. Whatever that means, it may mean nothing, as Dennis,
Right.
but it may mean
There's a number of really good attorneys out there that are tracking this
Okay.
very closely. There's now whole practices, that are evolving in different firms around this area. I'm sure we could find someone to speak to the legal implications.
I draw a parallel to prohibition.
Yeah, well, but that was back in the 30s, so.
And when all is said and done, the issue went away, took a constitutional amendment to make it go away, because it took a constitutional amendment to start it in the first place, overkill. But once it went away, we started licensing and collecting taxes, all kinds of taxes on liquor sales, and nobody talks about it or thinks about it anymore. And I guess it's the issue du jour.
yeah, but the fact that the town had to write something,
Well, many
to
towns,
act,
yeah,
had to proactively do something, infer something.
right.
But just to continue the thought, if I might, on the stormwater, while we have time, is it appropriate to have a bit more of an educational process? The 45-minute video is good for us. What about everybody else? Maybe we could get somebody to come and talk for the public as well about what that stormwater
The implications. right.
implications are, as seen from.
Why couldn't we put that video on?
Just give out the website.
Oh, yeah, we
Sure.
could just give out the web, we could put it on the website.
Yeah,
Because I don't think that it's just, I mean, it's just a standard link on the NJDEP's website.
mm-hmm.
So I could definitely put that out and,
Put it in the minutes or something to this meeting at
Mhm.
least.
Right, there wasn't any special login or anything.
No,
for it, so,
yeah.
Yeah, I don't see any downside. in that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then maybe at some point in time, and I don't know if you have expertise in this area, but if there are some folks in the DEP that are willing to come and talk, maybe we can use these times to get some education.
well, we
Discussion.
may even have, depending on what the subject you want to talk about, maybe we even have Joe come
Yeah,
and
we have
educate the
board
board a little bit more,
professional.
since he has a lot of the certifications,
Fine.
for the stormwater and whatnot, so.
Because we have done it before, when we sat and
Mhm.
had that dialogue on some other subjects as well, so maybe
Yeah,
if we
that's a good idea.
can use the time, that'd be good.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is master plan. There's been some rumblings about the master plan amongst the members of this board and amongst people in the town. And I am here to announce tonight that Mr. Richardson has agreed to become the meister of the master plan.
The Meister.
And from this moment forward, Don is going to make all the appointments, all the schedules, and answer all the questions that anyone might have about the master plan and bring it to its conclusion, and I'm going to stay out of it. And so at this point, if anybody wants to talk about the master plan any further, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Don.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just wanted to say a couple of words. I mean, I think the decision to go forward with the master plan, because I know we had talked in other meetings about some different options, is a good one. From the standpoint of let's start, let's restart what we need to finish off this process. And I have the utmost confidence that we can get that done this year on schedule, so that we're not putting our zoning ordinances in jeopardy and putting ourselves in a pickle or a legal situation that we don't want to be in. The approach that I'm really interested in taking is tapping into each of our strengths on the board. I'll be thinking more about how we create small teams to get this done behind the scenes, but I see each of us, as I approach you, as having an opportunity to participate even more in this process as we get this over the finish line. And I think that's vital and important, as we each have to be utmost comfortable with this process, that this should not be something that's hidden from each of the members here, but we're going to work, and I'm speaking to the public too, we're going to work in earnest so that then we can get a plan out to the public for comment, because that's incredibly important with the process that we've gone through up to this point, is get it to the hearing point, but we're going to do this in a fashion that we're putting the next draft out in an utmost way, to the best of our ability, something that we all agree upon, and it is a much more complete document than what was drafted the end of last year. So that's my pledge. I look forward to being the quarterback, but I'm only as good as the team. And so with support, major support from Liz, I look forward to working closely with Liz and all of you in regards to how we plug into this process. So I don't have much beyond that. I found out, we literally kind of made a final decision to move forward on this relatively recently, but I'm going to get this back on track. You can guarantee it very quickly. And I'll be looking again and approaching each of you outside of this meeting in regards to where I feel that you could plug in and help. So if there are any questions at this point?
Well, there's a few. So good, thank you.
But a lot of them I would really like to address one-on-one as I approach you, but unless you have something that
Oh, no,
you
it's
more
just general,
communally.
just a recap from where we left off, and just so we can continue on
Okay.
down, over the gap of the last few months. If I recall, Liz, you had all the comments from the boards, you were crafting something together based upon that. And the other thing we were talking about was the budget.
Yes.
Those two things. Where we are from Liz, where do we pick
Right.
up?
And I can speak to the budget too.
And the
so,
budget,
yeah.
those are the 2 points. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Well, they're not unrelated, so I haven't done much because it was unsure what the budget was.
Right.
So I think.
But that's been resolved.
Right,
We have an adequate budget to get through this process, so that's the really good news. There should be no hindrances now going forward in regards to that particular issue.
So are we picking up from where we left off, or are we taking a step back and going to rehash?
No, I don't see anything, yeah, it's a good question. I don't see any retreading. It's really somewhat picking up where we left off. We still need to resolve, there's still some comments out there. We still need to build this second draft. That's the most important. I think it's important that we inform ourselves and the public on a schedule. And I will be tapping people who I think could help us with that scheduling and making sure that we stay on track and get this done and out to the public for comment. Again, I don't have a particular date that I can share now, but that will be forthcoming. Other than I can guarantee it will be done by the end of the year, because it has to. In fact, December 12th.
well,
It can't be December 31st, so keep that in mind. There's not going to be some, crazy push on
I
Christmas Day.
should point out that our next meeting is 3 weeks away due to the fact that somebody stuffed an extra Tuesday into the month of May. And so I would expect that at our next meeting, there'll be a lot more definition.
Absolutely.
What day's that, quickly?
It would be,
June 13th
June 13th.
is your next meeting.
yep.
All right.
Does anyone have any other business that you'd like to bring up?
So just a couple of thoughts. We know that a lot of work has been done on most of the elements, right? So you got circulation, environmental, there's a bunch of that, which I believe some of those are in a final draft state, as opposed to having to go back and revisit to rewrite or re-amend. I'm concerned about the December 12th date because we want to build in time for public comment. I'm happy to work with you on that. I don't want to use the backstop, which is the, basically buying another 10 years with a, what is that,
Re-exam.
re-exam. Don't want to go to that. If it's there as a life preserver, we'll use it as a life preserver, but I don't think we need to get to that. Yeah, it's a shame we've lost some time here, but I want to get back on track, so willing to do whatever it takes to get there.
Great. Okay, anything
good to
else?
me.
Any other questions?
Anything else that anyone would like to bring up, old or new business? Where's Alan when I need him?
I think it's his wife's birthday. That's my, if I recall.
That's
I
a-
think it's his wife's birthday
Well,
tonight.
that's a good excuse.
Well, somebody's got to move to adjourn.
I think those, huh? I don't want to speak for him, but that's what I.
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Any discussion?
We've been
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Well done.
Thank you all.
Thank you all.